Well, welcome. I am really jazzed today because I get to chat with my friend and my former partner at the Santa Fe conference just a couple of years ago now. This is Kristena Hatcher, currently with Creative Artist Agency down in the LA area. Kristena, welcome. I'm so jazzed to
Thank
talk with
you.
you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be speaking with you as well.
So it's kind of a weird connection that we have. We both go to a conference. We're both from the private sector, and we attended a conference that was probably 60 to 70% PhDs, master's candidates, academics, a whole lot of academics in that conference. And you and I were two of the relatively minority group that were in the private sector category.
Yes.
And we sat through a 3-day session with Lee and Anita, who are also going to be joining us in Lecce, Italy in June. And that's how you and I became friends and have stayed in touch through WhatsApp. And I'm so glad you're here with me today. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So again, Kristena Hatcher, I currently oversee inclusion and diversity within our HR department here at CAA. For me, I'm very passionate about ensuring that there's an environment and culture of belonging for our employees. I am, a minority in many settings, and so I'm constantly feeling the need to, adjust accordingly in order to be respected and appreciated and seen and heard. And so I want to make sure that others don't have to work as hard and create an environment where, they can just show up and be their best selves. So that's the reason why I've gotten into this work. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. So a lot of people know that the civil rights movements and all of those things kind of started in and around those areas. So being able to leave Alabama, leave family, and come out to LA and thrive and build a career in entertainment has been something that I've been very grateful for. But that's also happen because, people have opened doors for me, and I've been able to, take courses like Lee and Anita's course that can help me continuing to open doors for others.
So what was the kind of the motivation or the inspiration behind signing up for the Santa Fe conference? What led you to those steps?
Yeah. So when I saw Lee and Anita are amazing. We actually have been doing work with Lee and Anita prior to the sessions. We've created some sessions called Embracing Our Differences that really talk about leveraging diversity of thought, mitigating bias and ensuring that, again, we remove any barriers to entry or growth into our company. And they've been great at customizing material for us. So that relationship was already there. And then when they shared the course with us, the fact that our business is built on collaborative relationships and, our agents and executives are constantly making decisions about who to include or not on signing teams. I felt that the opportunity to be a part of this, 3-day experience where all we're talking about is emotional intelligence and how that helps, build effective collaborative teams was something that really resonated with me. And, knowing the reputation that they both have, I just felt like it would be a great experience, not only for me, but one to bring back to my company with some key learnings.
Fantastic. And of course, that's where we met. And we had some really fascinating conversations as a result of the connection that we enjoyed through that conference.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about the takeaways you got from that experience. So this is your life work anyway. This is the role that you're in with the organization, but it's also more than that. It's your heartbeat. Talk about you're flying home on the plane, or you're debriefing with yourself after having left Santa Fe. What were the things that really stuck with you, and what are the things that you keep with you today in your daily, weekly, monthly practices in your role?
Yeah, I think it's so important that just the word emotion, it traditionally evokes negative thought when you think about business, and that emotion has no place in a workplace.
There's no crying in baseball, right?
Right, exactly. And in being in, that workshop showed, how important it is to be able to tap into your emotion and kind of everyone's motivation for, getting things done. It's at the end of the day, one of the exercises we were talking about, essentially implementing team building into some sort of quick team building exercise at the start of a meeting. One, because everyone essentially comes from their own world or their own, department or division. So when you're coming to a meeting and you want people to focus, it's how can you get them as an individual to care about what, is going on at the meeting? And it's literally doing some form of team building just to rally the troops essentially and bring everyone everyone together and have a much more engaged and thoughtful experience. And then I think also just knowing that I'm a fellow introvert, learning the different styles and techniques of individuals and like what resonates with them and how you can help them, show up and be their best selves, I think is also important. So that's something that I'm constantly reinforcing, because I know also in my industry, there aren't a lot of introverts, and people think that, or there's an assumption that there aren't a lot of introverts, and people think that you can't be successful in entertainment if you're an introvert. So just constantly reinforcing those dynamics of people that may be in the minority and how they can thrive, and how you can literally set up an opportunity for introverts and extroverts and all of these different types of individuals to really be able to, thrive together.
I don't know that we've ever talked about it, but I would have never labeled you an introvert.
Exactly.
That hasn't been my experience with you.
Exactly. It's like,
you said something that I want to explore just a little bit. You talked about how you come together in this classroom session, a workshop session, and we're all pretty much strangers. Some people knew each other from previous conferences. I didn't know a soul in the room. I didn't know Lee and Anita. It was amazing to me that in the context of talking about emotional intelligence, talking about empathy, how quickly the walls we put up, the images we portray, we all put our best foot forward. We look good. We are hesitant to talk much. Or when we do talk, we say very, specific, controlled things. And very quickly in that 3-day workshop, the walls just came down as we got comfortable talking about our humanity and the issues that comprise us. And it was amazing to me. I never would have gone there expecting emotion to show up in a 3-day workshop from me or from others. And it was fascinating and beautiful the way it did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was amazing because, again, like you come there, you're guarded, you don't know people. It's only 3 days. You're like, okay, I'm going to come here, get some great information, and then go back and share it, with my company. But it's like, I felt like I got to know the humans in the room. And Lee and Anita did a phenomenal job of creating a brave space. I won't even say a safe space, but a brave space where people felt comfortable stepping outside of their comfort zone and even stepping outside of, their shields or guards that they usually put up. And, we shared some very personal, vulnerable stories that I feel like we were all able to learn learn valuable lessons from each other and how we, navigate not only our respective work environments, but also our lives as individuals. And I think that was something that was just so amazing, to be in a room with people who you feel like are all so different, yet when we get to the core of it, there were, several commonalities that came up. I won't share your personal story, but like when you shared your story and connected with another person in the room, I'm almost tearing up because I'm like, this is amazing. You see two individuals who look completely different and you think they're completely different and have had very similar life experiences. And now you can leave and have another ally in this world. Like, I think that was just so incredible and so special. And, even myself, like incredibly guarded. And then the last day, it's like, I finally feel open and comfortable enough just to like release, things that even I have been holding in. So it was an amazing, amazing experience overall.
And when those walls come down and you deal with your own humanity, you start to see other people in their humanity. And now you start building connection. And it's through that connection you create understanding. And I don't care if it's just for the purpose of being a better human and buying into the idea that we are different and diverse people, and the more we can understand each other, the better we can get along and be more effective. Or if you're looking about bottom line results, if you're talking about how can we be more effective in my organization to deliver a better end product through a better collaborative group of people working together towards common objectives, either way, you're going to win.
Absolutely.
You talked about vulnerability. I want to share with you, in case you haven't seen, when we were putting together the structure for Cultural Global Labs, we talked about 5 pillars, and our first pillar is vulnerability, because vulnerability leads to an open heart that leads eventually to transformation. Our second pillar is stories and the power that they have as we share story and we listen to story. The third, and I think it's a natural in progression, is connectedness. If you're vulnerable and you share story, you start to build connection.
Yeah.
And then if that whole process is continuing, it does lead to transformation. Transformation maybe is simply, I have a better understanding of who you are and your worldview and your experience because you took the time to be vulnerable, to share your story. we connect, and now I'm transformed by that connection, which of course leads to our fifth pillar, which is growth.
Yeah,
You almost can't help but grow if you go through this process. So
absolutely.
that's what I experienced in Santa Fe. It sounds like that was similar to your experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was challenged. Like, I feel like, again, we talked about academics. You're going to think that there are so many people coming that are experts in this space. For me, it felt so amazing because I believe I was the youngest person there, both in age and, professionally in terms of my career. And to be in a room with such amazing thought leaders who I felt like welcomed me and had very thoughtful conversations and were able to pour into me. But to also be seen as, one of everyone else, like just one of the crew, essentially, and to be sought out for my perspective. I think, again, it just shows you that all of our perspectives are valuable. And the minute that we think we can discount our perspective or that it may not be as relevant just because we may not be similar to, the other parts of the whole, like it is not, like, that is inaccurate, and it's an inaccurate story that, we're telling ourselves. And I think, again, in this work, the more that people can be vulnerable enough to step out of their comfort zone and say, I'm going to put myself in a room with individuals who I don't know, with varying levels of experience, and be able to not only glean insight and experience from them, but share my perspectives. It just makes it so much better and so much more, worth it. Like, I literally got on a plane and I was like, I feel so full and enriched and grateful that I went through this experience.
And it's funny, the catalyst is vulnerability. All the other outcomes that are so positive and so beneficial are basically stemming from a willingness to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And for the record, I never once felt like I was the youngest person in the room there. So interesting that you felt that. So final question for you,
Sure.
Perspective from you. Someone's watching either this video or the interview we did with Lee and Anita, or the interview I did with Andre Uriga, another one of our presenters, or our Marcia Edelman. We have an amazing host of presenters talking about a variety of different topics. If someone's watching this considering participating in the Cultural Global Labs Conference in Lecce in June, what would be the thing you would want to say to them as a participant in a conference similar to this in the past?
One, I would say, if you're thinking about it, just go ahead and do it, because it's amazing. The experience will be second to none. It will be incredibly transformational, and you will have tangible things and insights that you can actually take back and implement immediately. I love that there were, both short-term and long-term, opportunities for learning and, ways that you could implement things pretty quickly. And really address some low-hanging fruit in your respective organizations. But just know that you will also be able to do work as an individual on yourself that's going to allow you to be, continue growing as a professional, and just, be someone that can truly be considered a thought leader in this space. Every time someone sees my certificate of completion, they inquire about it, and they're able to, I'm able to share my experience, and the fact that they know that I was passionate enough about this space to seek additional education, really resonates with people. And it's a solid, I would say it helps, build that solid foundation of knowledge that is very much needed in this space.
Well, and I'd like to think that our friendship, you and I, black and white, younger and older,
Yeah.
Developing a connection at a conference like that perpetuates to this day, has great similarities to my experience recently on the Camino de Santiago, where I met people from all over the world, younger, older, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. To have a connection with someone like you, to share mutually, to grow from that experience, knowing that we each have something to contribute if we're vulnerable, if we're open.
Right.
I just want to tell you thank you for going to Santa Fe and for your willingness to be here today and talk a little bit about your experience as we look forward to our June event in Lecce, Italy. I'm still hoping I can talk you into attending if that works in your changes that you have coming up.
I would love to. My pleasure. And I thank you again for being vulnerable enough to, step outside of your comfort zone. Because again, I think anyone considering this, once you sign up, once you're going, like, vulnerability is truly the key. And in order to, build those relationships that continue beyond the conference, like yours and ours had, it takes vulnerability, and it takes trusting that the people in the room, have everyone's best interest at heart.
Well, you are amazing. I'm looking forward to hearing more great things about you. And thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Kirk.
We'll talk again.